left for each team. Teams. Houston hosting Sacramento. The spread opened at -4. We are sitting around -4.5 now. I don't think you really can bet this game. We've seen Houston for one game basically with their full lineup as they had the COVID issues. So yeah, we have one game with Wall, DMC, and Gordon all playing, and they won and looked pretty decent. But I think I would need some more before I can get involved with them. My line is around -5 here, so I think there isn't really market value either. One thing you have to note is that we will probably have to just throw out all the Houston data before these guys came back. So the first few games, their defensive stats are pretty terrible, but they were terrible last year. I think if they can hang offensively, this can still be working. I really like the lineup. I think there is a shot that Harden stays, and this will still be like a top playoff team. At the moment, they are 29th in points per possession allowed, 28th in effective field goal percentage allowed, and 28th in offensive rebounding percentage allowed. So, I mean, defensively, it's not promising, but it was it should get better. And for Sacramento, I mean, they are pretty average on both sides of the ball. If you look at any offensive, any defensive stat, they hover between like 10 and 15. They aren't really good at anything, but they aren't really bad at anything either. One thing to note that Tyrese Halliburton, the Sacramento rookie, will be out. He's a guy to watch, I think, in the long run. He has been one of the better rookies. He's averaging over 10 points, 2 made threes, 4 assists, and a steal through 5 games. So, yeah, hopefully he will be back in the lineup, but he will be out with the bone bruise. This 4.5 and 5 here, I think it's a decent line. I think we can do anything with this game. All right, next game, Philadelphia, Charlotte. The Hornets are coming off a really ugly game. They basically punted against Memphis when everything was looking real good. It's a 13-4 for them, a back-to-back, but everyone played 28 minutes or less. So it's basically they shouldn't be tired. And I think they will struggle here. It's a pretty low total as well. It's the second lowest total on the board, 214. But you know why. I mean, Philly is a top 3 defense so far. I don't think there is a question around that. They allowed the second least points per possession and the third lowest effective field goal percentage. They allow a 49% effective field goal rate, which is amazing. They only put up their opponents put up like 103 points per 100 possessions. So, I mean, defensively they will probably shut down the Hornets. The problem is I'm not sure they will score enough to cover this. We've seen, Philly is not amazing offensively. It's pretty bad. Actually, the things that make this still work is the offensive rebounding. They are the 5th best team in the league, and they also force the 6th most free throws. So basically, you have a team who is out rebounding everyone, and they are forcing free throws, and that makes up a huge part of the offensive production. But they aren't efficient in the offense. They are like bottom 10 in most offensive categories. So yeah, they will out rebound Charlotte. They have a great defense. My line here is around 10, a bit higher than 10. So like we have some value on Philly, but again the Hornets, I mean, it's like a Jekyll and Hyde team. Like they didn't show up last night, but they have a couple of strong victories over pretty good teams. So I'm not really fading them by laying 10 against them. I really like what I see from Philly so far. I think the offense will be better down the line. So their offensive numbers will get better, and the defense is looking really good so far. So no edge, lean Philly. If this comes down a bit, I mean, I might have to jump on Philly, but you don't really want to lay 10 points these days. I'll just talk about this when we go through all the games, like all these blowouts that have been happening these days. It's a pretty crazy time. All right, next game, Orlando, Oklahoma City. This is off the board. Some soft books have this up at 7.5. I make this closer to 6. So we have to pay a bit of an extra if we want to back Orlando here. The problem is Fournier is questionable for them, and his backup Terrence Ross is just probable. So hopefully at least Ross plays. But I mean, Fournier has been a key piece for this offense. He's the most efficient player on the whole team. He's averaging 139 points per 100 attempts. He's the he's a top 70 player in player efficiency. I mean, he has like a 20% usage rate, so he's not like I mean, he's just a starter. He has starter usage minutes, not a stars minutes or something like that. But he is worth a point or two. So if he is out, this will probably come down to 6, which is probably realistic. But you cannot really back OKC here. I mean, this same Magic squad beat them by 11 just a few days ago, and OKC just they cannot put it together offensively. I also don't. I mean, they have some guys in the starting lineup who won't be even on the bench for most teams. They have the third worst turnover rate, the second worst free throwing rate. They average 101 points per 100 possessions. So that's a joke of an offense. And I mean, this Magic team is pretty efficient. They are good defensively. I kind of like them. I mean, the offense could be a bit better, but it always could be a bit better. But yeah, it's not really a team you really want to lay 7.5 or 8 points with. This is also, I mean, not a too high total. So I could see like OKC scoring like 90 and Orlando around 100. And yeah, I mean, they could cover, but yeah, I think we have to watch the injuries here. I mean, again, I lean Orlando to win this, but the spread is a bit too expensive. So yeah, I mean, I show numbers value on OKC, especially that we have key guys questionable on Orlando. All right, Pacers Knicks. This is going to be ugly. The spread is 9 here. I think this has the potential to be a blowout. I think this is probably going to be a bigger blowout than the Philly game we just talked about. I mean, the Knicks are just they are lost. I kind of like what the Pacers are doing on both sides of the ball. So they are like a top 10 offense and the top 5 defense at the moment in all categories. And this next offense, they are 29th in points per possession, 26th in effective field goal percentage, next to last in turnover rate on the offense. The Pacers will force turnovers. They know how to play these bad teams. We've seen this matchup just a few days ago. They won by 15 or so. I mean, this line could be a bit short, especially what we've seen with the blowouts. Coaches are pulling the plug easier on the big starters. They want to rest their guys, make sure they won't get hurt, etc. I mean, I like the Pacers here. I mean, what we have to note, TJ Warren is out, of course. He has a foot injury. I think he got surgery yesterday. So yeah, I mean, but the are very, very deep, and this recent success is more about Oladipo playing a bit better than last year, and Sabonis also stepping up a further level. I don't think you can find value here. If this comes down to under 9, again, I would look at the Pacers. You could probably like parlay the Pacers and the Philly. That's still probably a bit expensive parlay, but I don't see their team really losing this. Next game, it's the Pelicans hosting Toronto. This is the closest game on the board. So the spread opened Toronto -1. It's currently -1.5. So Raptors are getting some money, and I really don't agree with it. To be honest, I mean, what we've seen from Toronto so far has been pretty ugly. I've watched the games. I mean, they are good defensively. They are really like a top 10 defense. I don't think there's a question around that. The problem is like the offense is just not there, and the size. I mean, they are dominated. They are just too small. If you watch the games with like bigger centers against Toronto, it's like they are playing around children. It's ugly. I have I have a few notes here why I like New Orleans in the matchup. It's basically both offenses are below average, a bit below average, and the defenses are pretty decent. There isn't too much difference between these two squads when it comes to the offense or defense, but there are a few key differences. So one thing that I have to note is Toronto is the 30th in points per possession and the 30th in free throw rate. On the other side, the Pelicans allow the third least free throws in the league. And when we check the rebounding stats, it's pretty similar mismatch. Toronto is the 27th team when it comes to when it comes to stopping offensive rebounds, and the Pelicans are a top 10 offensive rebounding team. On the other side of the ball, Toronto is 23rd in rebounding, and the Pelicans are the best rebounding defense in the league. So basically, I think New Orleans will be able to just out rebound, out big boy them. We've seen Adams looking good. I mean, Zion is looking a bit better on the defensive side. He's still not that sharp, but they will get the rebounds, and I do think this is a pretty good matchup. And as I said, the Pelicans don't really give you opportunities to score free throws, and the Raptors have a problem finding these opportunities for themselves. So yeah, that's really just a huge mismatch. One more thing, Toronto is allowing 16 second chance points per game. I mean, that's just terrible. They are one of the worst teams when it comes to allowing second chance points, allowing points in the paint, turnovers, and they don't create free throws. So yeah, I think if you add everything up, I just cannot make them road favorites here. It's a low total. You can expect like a grueling game, but I think the Pelicans will come away with this. All right, next game on the docket. It's the Hawks hosting Cleveland. It's an interesting game. They back-to-back for the Hawks. They just Brooklyn last night. Another one of these big upsets. The Hawks are in a back-to-back with travel. They played around 30 minutes. Their starters averaged around 30 minutes last night. Young played 32 minutes. I mean, you won't find value with a team like this. I mean, they are probably the most hot team in the league. Everyone wants to back them. You will have to pay a bit of an extra. But I mean, if you look at the stats, they are first in points per possession, top 3 in effective field goal percentage, top 3 in free throws per 100 field goal attempts, top 3 at offensive rebounding. I mean, there isn't really any point, any stat when you check this team offensively where they aren't there. But defensively, it's just, I mean, they don't really want the defense. They just run and put up the points. On the other side, Cleveland isn't. I mean, I think they lost 2 games in a row, but they started this year pretty well. They are the 4th best defense when it comes to allowing points per possession. They forced the first. They forced the most turnovers in the league, and on the other side, like Atlanta is the 30th in turnovers forced. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's likely that Cleveland can stop this Atlanta squad, but they aren't a bad defense and they are playing pretty hard. The problem is the offensive side. I mean, how can you hang with this team? We've seen last night. I mean, Brooklyn couldn't hang with them, and many couldn't. I expect some regression from Cleveland, to be honest, on both sides of the ball. But they are playing hard, and I mean, you cannot really lay these points. Again, we don't know, I mean, about the conditioning of the teams. We don't know how much like a back-to-back this early in the season is worth. We can just guess this is like a unique season. We haven't really had a season like this before. With such a short off season. So yeah, I think I'm going to talk about this a bit. The average margin of victory has been way up, and I've got many questions about it. Like, why is this happening? I think obviously it's there is. I cannot say why is this happening, but there are a few factors that we have to see. One of the things is the short off season, of course. Teams that were in the bubble had the playoffs. They've played like 2 months ago. On the other side, for the teams that didn't get into the playoffs, I mean, they had like a pretty long off season. But the teams, some teams are looking really bad who had problems. I mean, who had big lineup changes. Like look at the Wizards with Westbrook. I mean, they are still trying to integrate him. Toronto did lose Ibaka and Gasol, two huge pieces. Denver is still, I mean, Denver lost some key bench pieces. They are still integrating MPG to the starting lineup. And look at all these teams, how they fare so far. So the teams who had big changes through the short off season look pretty bad. Then again, we had the short preseason. Like your teams could play like either 2 or 4 preseason games, but that's basically nothing. So the team conditioning is just different between team and team and player. Then again, we have a condensed schedule. We play less games this year, but in a shorter time frame. We will have many back-to-backs, and coaches know this. So if a game is going away and you have like an imported game, not even like the next day, but in 2 days, you will just pull your starters. You won't risk them being tired. You cannot risk them getting injured. So like again, condensed schedule. Coaches know that they have to play this safe. And then again, we have the crowd issue. This is like a question that comes up always, like how much is the crowd worth? We don't know, but what we know is that in the bubble it was a pretty small arena. They put up like a circus, and it looked good, and people were hyping up the players. They could make like a festival atmosphere, but here you don't see that back in the regular arenas. It's just I think some teams are missing like the hype and the chanting, and no one is telling you to play defense or anything like that. It's probably just a small percentage of why is this happening, but I mean, it's a combination of the short off season, short preseason, condensed schedule, and no crowd. So yeah, some interesting stuff I've seen through the past few days. I just collected some stats. We have 11 teams who won their last game by at least 15 points. I don't think I've seen this before. If we check like back longer through the whole season, we have like last year we had Milwaukee with like an average margin of victory about 9 points. Now we have like 6 teams around 9 points or higher. Milwaukee, Lakers, Atlanta, Indiana, Phoenix, Philadelphia, and Brooklyn is not too far behind. So yeah, I mean, I do think this will normalize, but we don't really know when. So yeah, the conditioning will get better. Teams will get used to the new situations. I mean, after big trades, teams will integrate these new players better, and yeah, we'll just slowly go back to normal, hopefully. All right, that's it for today. So 6 games, not a lot of value. I think all the favorites are deserved favorites, but most of these lines are pretty good. In the Toronto New Orleans game, I lean towards New Orleans. You have to monitor the Orlando game. I think the injury situation there is pretty spread. At 7.5, I don't think there is value on Orlando. Okay. Tomorrow we have an 8-game slate. I will stream at the same time. Make sure to follow me on Twitter